It's past 6 o'clock. You are trying to remember what you did between 2 and 4 this afternoon because you still haven't logged it. And if you don't log it properly, that time is gone, unbilled. Never happened as far as the firm is concerned. If you've ever worked in a law firm, in any role, you will know that exact feeling, and it's nothing to do with the actual legal work. I am Hannah. I run an automation studio, and the law firms are one of the sectors I've been researching properly because there's a real gap between what people assume AI means for a law firm and what will actually make a lawyer or paralegals Tuesday easier. I want to paint the actual picture because I think most people, lawyer or not, recognize themselves somewhere in it. Everyone talks about AI as though it means robot lawyers writing argument. It doesn't. Some of the real opportunities is in the operations running underneath the whole firm, and some of it is sitting inside one lawyer's day in places that are not obvious until you look properly. Let me walk you through some of them. Right. First one, getting the client in the door. Before any actual legal work can start, a new client has to get through the front door properly. And that is a longer process than any person outside the firm realize. Someone has to check that there is no conflict of interest, that the firm hasn't acted against this person before on the other side of something. Someone has to verify identity, run the anti-money laundering checks that the regulator requires. Someone has to chase the client for documents that prove who they are. Right now, in a lot of firms, that is still a person cross-referencing spreadsheets and old files by hand, then chasing the client by email for the third time because the document they sent was blurry. That is slow. It is easy to get wrong, and it delays the point where the firm can actually open the file and start the clock. Here is where AI helps properly. A first pass conflict check across the firm's existing records done in minutes instead of an entire afternoon. Document verification that flags whether the JD looks genuine before it goes anywhere near compliance. None of that replaces the person who signs off the conflict checks. It just means that they are reviewing flagged shortlists instead of searching from scratch. So that is getting in the door. Second thing, timesheets everyone resents. And this is the one that will land from basically anyone who has ever built hours or time. Fee earners are meant to log time as they go in 6-minute chunks against whichever matter they are working on. In practice, almost nobody does that in real time. Most people reconstruct their day from memory at the end of it. Reconstructed time is bad time. You underestimate the 10-minute calls because you've forgotten half of them happened. Firms lose real billable hours this way every single day across every fee earner in the building. The irony is the administration built to capture value is quietly destroying some of it. The fix isn't asking people to be more disciplined because that has been the ask for decades and it has never worked. It is AI drafting the time entries in the background, from the calendar, the email sent, the document worked on, so that the field earner's job changes from writing the entry to reviewing and approving the one that is mostly already right. Still their sign off, still their judgment of what is billable, just not starting from blank page and a foggy memory at 6 p.m. So that's the firm, the operation running underneath everyone's day, whatever their role happens to be. Now, let's shrink this right down. One lawyer, one ordinary day, and two things that genuinely aren't obvious until you sit inside of it. The attendance note nobody sees. Every time a lawyer has a call or meeting with a client, they are expected to write it up properly afterwards. What was discussed, what was advised, what was agreed. It's called an attendance note, and it is not a tick box exercise. It is a real careful piece of writing, partly for filing and partly to protect the lawyer and the client if anything ever gets disputed later on. Now, multiply that by every call in a normal day. A lawyer can come out of 6 or 7 conversations and still owe 6 or 7 proper write-ups. And in practice, those get pushed to the end of the day, or worse, the end of the week, by which point the details are starting to blur. So the evening gets swallowed up writing calls that finished 4 hours earlier, working from memory that is already thinner than it was at the time. That is the real specific tax on a lawyer's own day that nobody outside that profession understands. The AI opportunity here is direct. Draft the attention note from the call itself, note taken during or a recording, and let the lawyer review, correct, and approve, rather than starting from a blank page hours later. The note still has their name on it. It's just written while the detail is fresh instead of reconstructed once it isn't. Number 4, the one you probably already expected. Legal research. Working out which case actually supports an argument, how they have been applied since, whether there is something more recent that changes the picture. That used to mean hours in case law databases, and AI genuinely speeds up that first pass, pulling together cases and passes that are actually relevant to the case instead of the lawyer strolling through hundreds by hand or manually. I'm not going to upsell this one or oversell it. It's the obvious example. Everyone doing anything with AI and law mentions it. So I would say the honest version. It is the first draft of the research, not the finished analysis. A lawyer still has to read the actual cases, still has to decide what is genuinely persuasive and what just looks relevant on the surface. It saves real hours. It doesn't do the thinking. 5, the date nobody's allowed to miss. This is the one I think people will least expect, and it might matter more than any of the others that I have mentioned. Every matter carries date that genuinely cannot move, a limitation period, a court filing deadline, a window to respond to something. Miss one, and it is not just an awkward conversation. A case can be lost outright, and it can turn into a professional negligence claim against the lawyer and the firm. Traditionally, that is tracks through diaries, case management systems, and the person cross-checking it against everything else going on, which is exactly a kind of task that is fine 99 times out of 100, and genuinely catastrophic the one time it isn't. Most lawyers carry a quiet background hum of anxiety about this, precisely because it is so unforgiving. Here is the AI opportunity almost nobody names first when they think about law and AI. Reading through the matters document and correspondence for anything that reads like a critical date, then cross-referencing it against what is sitting in the diary and flagging any gap between the two. It is not making the call. The person still owns the deadline, still checks it, still carries the responsibility. It is a second set of eyes that never gets tired at the end of a long week, or never assumes somebody else has already checked. You would think the highest stake AI opportunity in a law firm will be somewhere in the clever legal work, the arguments, the analysis. It is not. It might genuinely be the most boring line in the entire firm, a date sitting in the diary that everyone assumes somebody else has checked. So here's the full picture. Getting a client in the door properly, getting time logged accurately instead of reconstructed from memory, a faster first pass into the research, getting an attendance note written while it is still fresh, and catching the one date that cannot be missed. These are AI opportunities within a law firm or for a lawyer or a legal practitioner. None of it replaces judgment. The person still signs off the conflict, checks, approves their own timesheets, still reads the actual cases, still puts their name to the attendance notes, still owns the deadline. AI just clears the manual grind and sometimes the risk sitting in front of all the 5 that I've just mentioned. Here is where I would draw the line. Drawing out options, angles, what the other side might argue. AI is genuinely useful for this. It is just brainstorming faster than one person alone at 9 p.m. But choosing which angle fits this client, this judge, this relationship, that is not brainstorming anymore. It is the job, and that part does not move. It is the job for a human lawyer, not AI. If you work in a law firm, I will start with whichever of this is eating the most of someone's actual week or carrying the most risk if it goes wrong. That is the honest way to pick AI automation opportunities within legal operations. If this is the kind of operational problem your firm is sitting on, this is the sort of work I do at 3 Balconies. There's a link in the description. You can reach out to me. And if you want to see more of this, I put out weekly content. So feel free to follow and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.